Hello, family. Welcome back to the African Diaspora News channel. I am Wongel Zelalem, and today we're talking about Venezuela, specifically Venezuelans speaking out and speaking up. If you have been following up with the Venezuela versus US debacle, you already know that the President Maduro, has been captured by the US and he is currently on the US soil. He is being tried for drugs, and I believe it was today or yesterday, he pled not guilty at a court in New York. And so you know that much. But if you're following the mainstream media, specifically the Western mainstream media, you might have watched Venezuelans celebrating, being happy and excited that the president has been taken. And it's almost like the narrative right now. If you go online, if you go and open any mainstream media channel, the narrative that you'll see is that people are happy, people are celebrating. Sure, there are some people that are celebrating, but they're not going to show you the full image of what is really going on. Venezuelans went out to the streets to protest, and this is not a few people that I'm talking about. Let me show you just like a visual of what it looked like, the protest that is. And the protest, by the way, the protest is against the US government and what they have done to Maduro. By the way, you can read the subtitle. It's written what they're saying. So, for example, now they're saying, "Listen, little Yankee, here's what I have to say. You will not intervene in my country." And you can see how many people there are. Like, you can't even see where the people end and where they begin, because they're filling the street basically. Again, in case you are in a place where you can't read the subtitle and you don't speak their language, they're saying, "You will not intervene in my country." This one is the funny one. They said, "Listen, little gringo, we are prepared." And they added, "We are the youth, we are waiting for you, little gringo." This is them that are saying. Yeah, you saw that. You saw how many people were out in the streets, Caracas, talking about, or rather telling America that they reject what has been done to their president, which is captured and taken along with his wife. And they're saying, "We are waiting for you." The youth specifically, they also mentioned that, the youth. I know there's like the conversation of like, he's not really a good guy anyways, he's not a good leader, he's shady, he's not the best, he's a dictator, you name it. We've heard it. But then again, who is America? Who are you for you to go to another person's country and kidnap, well, this is his words, kidnap the president, the sitting president? That's the thing that is mind-boggling. Of course, we know this is happening because America has not been checked for so long, and the government spends a lot when it comes to foreign countries, and their investment is basically in foreign land. So it's not news, yes. It's not new as well, yes. But at the same time, when you sit down and really think about it, it's like, who are you? Who are you to do this? Regardless, they have done it. The government has done it. Although, if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, we talked about, before they even captured Maduro, we talked about how this move by US is not supported, not just by Venezuelans, but also Americans. About 70% according to report, 70% of Americans that were asked if America should intervene in Venezuela, they said no, they do not want to intervene. And these are Americans on American soil. But the same stat showed that in Venezuela, when they asked the people, what do you think? Even those that hated Maduro and did not want him to stay in power said, we don't think US intervening is the best idea. We've seen what happens to other countries. So no, 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 thank you, was the response that they have given. But then again, Trump ordered his capture, and that's what we saw. Like I'm pretty sure many of you have seen this image by now. He was taken along with his wife, and he's currently in the US. So shortly after this happened, the vice president spoke out, and this is what she said. Again, you have to read the subtitle.
Inmediata exigimos la inmediata liberación.
Okay, for those of you, I'll just read for you. We demand the immediate release of the President Nicolas Maduro,
del presidente Nicolás Maduro y de su esposa Silvia
and his wife, Celia Flores.
O por herencia,
we have a sacred duty to
tenemos
protect
el deber sagrado de resguardar, como es nuestra
our national independence, our
independencia
sovereignty,
nacional, como es nuestra soberanía, nuestra integridad territorial,
our territorial integrity,
que ha sido salvajemente,
which has been savagely attacked in the early morning hours
atacado
of today.
en la madrugada del día de hoy. Los extremistas que han promovido esta agresión armada contra nuestro país.
She called it armed aggression against our country. History and justice
La
will make
historia
them
y la justicia se los hará pagar. Si hay algo que el pueblo venezolano y
if there is one thing that the Venezuelan
que este país tiene muy claro,
and this country is very clear about is
es que jamás volveremos a ser esclavos.
That we will never be slaves again.
Es que jamás volveremos a ser colonia.
We will never again be a colony of any empire of whatever kind.
De ningún imperio del tinte.
Yup, you heard her. She said, nah, not on my watch. And as I said earlier, if you are getting your news from the mainstream media and the internet, because I Googled, and most of the results you'll find is that Venezuelans are celebrating Maduro's kidnapping, or whatever you want to call it, and then they'll show you a few people coming online and celebrating what he's doing. As I said earlier, yes, there are people that are celebrating, but for the most part, if we're going to talk about percentage, and if we're going to talk about at the very least before this happens, what the reports were and what the people were saying, they were saying even the ones that don't like Maduro, they wanted him to say they don't want US to get involved. You can't blame them as well. Like, look at history. History shows us, and by the way, okay, let me finish that statement. History shows us that when America is involved, and especially it's to help the people, is the word on the street, but that's not what's happening, right? But also, Trump, at least I always say this, the difference between, let's say, Trump's administration and Biden's administration, there's a lot of difference, but the main thing is Trump and his administration tell you what it is. In this case, they said it's the oil. Previously, America is known to do this, but they usually cover it up. Even here, of course, they covered it up and they said it's drug and all that, but they slipped up. They already shared with the world what it's about, and the world already knows as well. What we love about this day and age is that for the most part, we know what's going on. For the most part, we understand. We have the information. Back in the days, we were fooled for many, many, many years that this Western nation, specifically the American government, will swoop into a country, claim that they're there to help the people, claim that they are there to facilitate regime change because this one is a dictator and this one is not serving the people. And then they leave with the resources, and the people and the country is left in shambles. That's what we've seen so far. It's not far-fetched. It's not a lie. It's history, right? So we understand why the people are skeptical. And to be honest, I want to give Americans a round of applause, okay? Because I've seen so many Americans speak out, even though it's their own government that is doing it. They're against it. They're saying, no, wrong is wrong, right is right. We're going to call it out. We're not going to accept this. We're not going to let our taxpayers' money to go to this. And it's respectable, honestly, to hold your own government accountable, right? Here are some of the other protests that maybe the mainstream media, not maybe, the mainstream media will not show you.
Aguanta, que el pueblo. Aguanta, que el pueblo se levanta.
Así como ayer éramos cientos, hoy somos miles y mañana vamos a ser millones en las calles defendiendo a nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro.
Oops, sorry.
A la Hoy somos miles y mañana vamos a ser millones en las calles defendiendo a nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro, defendiendo a nuestra compatriota, a la combatiente Sila Flores.
He's basically saying that they are going to stand with Maduro. Let me find you another one.
De la supuesta premio Nobel que habla de la paz. ¿Dónde está el pronunciamiento de la supuesta premio Nobel que habla de la paz? Al ver que su país, que Venezuela, ha sido atacada por el imperialismo norteamericano. ¿Dónde estás? ¿Dónde están esos países que no se han pronunciado ante esta situación y esta circunstancia? Nosotros como pueblo, como hombres y mujeres trabajadores, exigimos primero respeto. Y segundo, estamos en la calle, primero porque creemos en la democracia. Así como nosotros salimos a votar al pasado 28 de julio por el presidente Nicolás Maduro, y así como todos los sectores del país reconocieron la victoria, nosotros hoy exigimos al gobierno norteamericano, al imperialismo y a todas las transnacionales que sabemos muy bien que están detrás de todo esto, que nos regresen sanos.
Yeah, his last statement was return President Maduro. And this is a sister here.
Que viva Venezuela libre y soberano. Que viva Venezuela libre, camarada. Que viva Venezuela de los patriotas. La Venezuela revolucionaria. La Venezuela del Chávez y la Venezuela de nuestro hermano presidente Nicolás Maduro Moro, camarada. Y ya que las instituciones internacionales dejen de ser alcahuetes y se hagan un pronunciamiento real.
She did not mince her words. Hopefully you've seen the subtitle and what she's saying. And by the way, the protest was not only held in Venezuela. There was a protest that happened in France. And this is how it went. Yeah, that is what's happening. And Venezuelans, it looks like they're not willing to just allow anything to happen, because initially it felt like that, not gonna lie. When the report first came out that they bombed the city and they took President Maduro and his wife, we didn't hear a lot from Venezuelans, at least on social media. And as I told you, mainstream media will have one way to report on things, and that's it. So it was like, oh wow, they're just gonna let that happen, like they're a sovereign country. That's the feeling a lot of people felt. But then as time went by, they started coming out, they started posting about it, they started talking, they started organizing, and it's very clear to see that they're not willing to let this slide, and they are going to stand up for the man, even though some of them still don't support him. They believe that the way US went about it is not acceptable, and they're not going to allow this to happen. So we're going to see what's going to happen. And other countries have also given their supports, like the Colombian president, the Cuban president. I actually have a little bit of a snippet for you from the Cuban president.
¡Imperialismo! ¡Abajo el imperialismo!
That's Miguel Díaz-Canel.
¡Abajo el imperialismo genocida, inmoral y fascista! Este acto de terrorismo de Estado que acaba de ocurrir en Venezuela es un atropello escandaloso a las normas del
He called it a scandalous violation of
derecho
international
internacional. La agresión militar a una nación de paz que en nada amenaza a Estados Unidos y el secuestro de un presidente legítimo electo soberanamente por su pueblo. No puede haber silencio ni aceptación de ese acto de terrorismo de Estado.
said there will be no acceptance of this act. And yeah, it's not just him. As I said, other leaders also spoke out, including China. China asked the US to release President Maduro immediately, is what the statement was reported. And if you remember, the last meeting Maduro had was, I believe, with a Chinese authority. I forgot what delegation it was, but it was a Chinese person that he was hosting. And that night, the US military appeared, and we all know what happened to him. So it is very it's very sad to watch, honestly. As I said earlier, it's not about if the leader is good, great, bad, dictator. It does not matter. These are two different nations, a sovereign country, and you send in your troops. And as the Cuban president stated, a nation that had no threat against you, like Venezuela was not a threat, right? So for you to do that, like actually allow, like actually be the one to aggress and use military force, it's yeah, not a lot of people are with it. But if you're just watching MSM, that's not what you're gonna get, for sure. But someone already predicted this. You know, the dictator we've always heard about, the former president Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, the same person. And this interview, by the way, he gave in 2009. This is what he had to say about US and Venezuela. So the question he was asked was, so is there a possibility of war then? And she's asking, the reporter is asking him, war between Venezuela and US.
Pero tú no ves la amenaza que es para nosotros.
You don't see the threat that is the United States. This subtitle is big, so I'm not gonna read it for you. You just watch and read.
El imperio de los Estados Unidos.
¿Por qué cree que Estados Unidos quiere atacar Venezuela?
Bueno, ahí está la historia reciente. Yo te voy a decir la causa más importante. Aquí mismo, está la reserva de petróleo más grande de este planeta. Aquí en Venezuela tenemos petróleo para más de 100 años. A Estados Unidos se le está acabando el petróleo. La razón de mayor peso de que Estados Unidos quiera poner aquí un gobierno subordinado a él, al imperio, como lo tuvieron durante mucho tiempo, es el petróleo venezolano.
Quiero hacerle una pregunta sin que a usted le moleste. ¿Está usted paranoico con Estados Unidos?
No, de ninguna manera. Yo solo soy realista. Si tú le pudieras hacer esa pregunta que me has hecho a mí, lo que pasa es que no podrás porque la mayoría...
Did you catch that? She asked him if he is paranoid about the US, and basically asking him, is it valid the way you feel about the US? And he said, I'm just being realistic. Ask the same questions to others. And then he said, you can't, because they're dead. And he mentions all the leaders that US government allegedly was involved in, taking out. So yeah, it's just not fair. But we're happy to see that at the very least, the people are not gonna take it just like that. They are gonna push back. They're gonna call it out. They're gonna come together. And if you saw, one of the guys that was protesting said, today we're out in thousands, tomorrow we'll be in millions. So basically they're saying they're not gonna stop. They're gonna fight for their sovereignty. They're gonna go out there and do what needs to be done, which is call for Maduro to be returned to their country. As I said earlier, he pled not guilty in court in New York, and I saw some reports of how the interaction went. He had a translator there along with his wife, and when he was asked questions like, did you do this, do that, he said he's not guilty, and he also said that he was kidnapped and he doesn't agree what was done to him. I mean, of course, we understand that. So that's what's happening in Venezuela in a nutshell. Let me read some of your comments. McQueen said Trump really wanted that oil. And he was, as I said, he was very open about it. Initially, he wasn't. Initially, he was saying drug and that. And then eventually he's like, yeah, That's our oil, which is so bizarre. What do you mean that's our oil? Joseph said staged people celebrating. I'll say this. Yes, of course, there are staged instances, but some people are actually happy and celebrating as well. Let's not forget that. Let me give you an example with Nigeria. When US was saying that they're going to help and go intervene, bomb, send troops, whatever, remember there were actual people celebrating. Even now, there are people that are celebrating, not because they believe that everything, like, it's not it's the belief system, let's put it that way, because they believe that nothing can be worse than their current government, and US can come in, rescue them from what is going on. But little do they know, those people that are celebrating, it might end up being worse, right? So there are people that are celebrating and genuinely celebrating. I've seen people celebrating his removal, but for the most part, when you compare the lesser evil, that's when you come to the conclusion that I'd rather have the person that I already know and I know how to deal with. Pete, thank you, Pete, for that comment. Tim said, I told people that Venezuelans in Venezuela are not happy, but upset and rage. Yeah, they're very upset from what I'm seeing, and like pure rage. It's giving, like, from what I've seen, it's like, how dare you come into my house and do this, right? Even if I'm not crazy about my own person, like my leader, they're very angry. Renz, hello, greetings to you too. Taj said, honestly, this man is bewildered. BB said, those who are happy about what happened will soon find out about what a white supremacist is. I mean, history. I'll keep saying history. Look at history. You don't have to go back a long time. You'll just find out what happens and what those countries are dealing with till this day, right? People always mention Libya, and rightfully so. Look at what happened to Libya and what they did to Gaddafi, and how the quality of life just went down. Not just went down, just living in a total chaos now. So yeah. And Melissa said, good for them, be strong. White supremacy is crazy. McQueen said, gringo means white foreigner. Yes, I know. I'm aware of that. And I was surprised to see them being specific as well. They're not putting everyone in one boat, seems like. I saw a lot of gringo posts. I saw a lot of Yankee. Black Rose said, now Venezuelans that fled and invaded the USA can return home. We'll see. I don't know. Is that what they're gonna do? We're gonna see. Sirad said, who is actually a good leader? I haven't seen one since I was born. What is wrong is wrong. US is behaving like imperialist. I hear you. And also, that's why, let's say, because you said I haven't seen a good leader, some might argue Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso right now is doing good in that department, being a leader, that is. And that tells you what you need to know. In this day and age, we haven't seen a lot of good leaders. And when you see one, it's almost like you are in awe of them. And that is why he gets a lot of support. That is why he's getting a lot of love. And the same time, I believe it's like the same night, if I'm not wrong, or a day or two later, there was a coup d'etat attempt in Burkina Faso, the same time that this was happening in Venezuela. But guess what happened? The people of Burkina Faso went out to the streets, and this is in the middle of the night, like almost morning hours. They went out to the streets, especially where Traore is around the what is it called, like his place, and started marching, saying that they're going to protect him. there are videos of that instance, and this was a coup attempt. It didn't even happen. The Burkina Faso government hasn't released any statement, but the media, their own media outlets covered it, and the conversation, just because the people heard that there might be an attempted coup tonight, they went out to protect their leader. That shows you that when you do right by the people, they will even risk their own lives to protect you. Lay it down for yours, because you represent something bigger than yourself. And as much as they're rare to come, when they do come, I think that's the right thing to do. Protect them as much as you can. Tim said, but they are also brainwashed, Maduro and his administration. Larvadane said, it has been done before. Didn't another president arrest a sitting Latin American president before? But does that make it right, Larvadane? Does that make this right? It is not right at all. And when they try to make you believe that this is actually okay because I'm a saint, I have the best intention at heart for those people over there that have a lot of oil, and I'm there to help them. Like, we have to second guess it. We have to, wrong is wrong. Let's just say that. Wrong is wrong. You can pressure him and to force him to step down by maybe going to the UN. Anyways, UN Security Council is there to serve a few countries like America. So use those outlets that you have the way you do it all the time. Like, do that. Don't go to someone's country and kidnap someone, the leader of that country. I just don't agree with it. Hi, Martia. Mr. Parker said the white corporate media goes along with the American government message, even when they claim to oppose their policies, because most Americans will question the propaganda. That one of the things that I'm seeing and I'm very happy about is a lot of people are awake to this. Not everyone, of course, but you interact with some people and you're like, wow, okay, we've come a long way. Just a few years back, we would have been supporting, who knows, we would have, because we did support when it happened to Libya. Look at what happened to them now and how many people regret what happened there. Bibi said most W people do have imperialist views. You'll find out. Black Rose said, and now the USA backyard is safer because the USA doesn't need or want Russia or China at the USA backdoor. Black Rose said, Venezuela president never won his election. That is the word on the street. But as I said earlier, it does not matter. When I say it does not matter, not that he, let's say, didn't win and then rigged the election or whatever the case may be. Not that. What I'm saying, it doesn't matter. What I mean is, it doesn't matter now. What happened to him and who did it is just wrong. We can't justify that, in my opinion. McQueen said, well, he did tell him to come get him. That is true. I remember that video of him like almost dancing and making fun of Trump. That's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard that he was captured. I was like, all that dancing and all that, come get me. And he's not the only one, by the way. What's the president's name? I'm trying to remember. The Colombian president. I have him somewhere here. What's his name? I forgot his name. Oh, it is Gustavo Petro. So during a press conference, a reporter asked Trump about Colombia, and he said, the next I'm coming after the president. So he responded to him, and the president said, come and get me. I'm here. I'm waiting. So I thought of Maduro, just like you, because I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like after all that, like you were not even prepared. That you see, this is what I mean by, sometimes when you're a really true good leader, people will sacrifice themselves. Like, who allowed the US to just come in like that? They must have worked with someone an insider, right? That's what I'm assuming, at least. In Burkina Faso, when they are trying that, and they've tried so many times, we've lost count of it. They were stopped because the people believe that one person represents something bigger, right? But Maduro, it was such an easy. And I think US reported that there was not one person that got hurt or killed from the US side. So it was like they just walked in and walked out. That's what it gave. Yeah, Marsha said, women need to rise up. Yes, fam. So that is what happened and what it continues to happen in Venezuela. Make sure that you get your news, your update stories everywhere you can, because, you can't just take one outlet's word for it. Anyways, fam, thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Bye.